Ronbus is releasing the Tenon, their first durable grit foam paddle. Today, we're taking a look at the Tenon R3 and how it stacks up against some other elongated fill options in the market. We've got the Friday Aura, Engage X2, Neonic FLX, and the Selkirk Omni. Let's get to it. Now for all these paddles, we did slightly different weight setups depending on their original metrics, but we'll go over that in more detail as we get to each paddle. We'll talk about these in order of firepower, and at the bottom for the lowest power, we have the Friday Aura, coming in with a swing weight of 116 and a twist weight of 6.15. It's the softest paddle on this list that sits comfortably in the alt-core category. On contact, the Aura does give a slight flex in the face when hitting the ball, and the feedback is muted and smooth. It is by far the easiest to control of the group, with drops, stakes, and resets easy to dial in. And it's a paddle I think many people can use with no issue. I do think it does need extra stability though, and for weight setup, I went with 3-gram strips at the 8 and 4 positions. Overall, a very good all-court option I can easily recommend. Next up, we have the lightest paddle on this list, and that's the Neonic FLX. The swing weight is super low at 107, with a twist weight that is still pretty solid at 6.15. In stock form, I found the sweet spot to still be pretty good, and I had no complaints, but I did end up adding 3-gram strips at 3 and 9, and covering the top half of the paddle with edgeguard tape to bump the weight and stability up a little bit. Now for initial impressions, I found the FLX to feel more on the muted and dead side, but after adding weight and giving the paddle a few more play sessions, I thought the FLX does open up a bit more to get more hollow and powerful. I would say the FLX in the current state I have it at sits more all-court leading power. It's the second most hollow feeling paddle on this list, but it still has that solid, dense feedback, and I didn't find the paddle to be overly poppy and crisp. I personally really enjoyed this paddle as it's still viable and stomp formed as a maneuverable elongated option, but also highly customizable. A fantastic all-court to all-court leaning power paddle, depending on how you want to use it. Moving on, let's go to the Ronbus Tenon R3. The Tenon is made to be an improvement over the Quantas, so it has that same core construction, but it has these tenons inserted in the sides to create an interlocking structure. For metrics, we got 117 swing weight and 6.13 twist weight. What we see across the board on the tenons over the Quantas is higher overall weights and metrics. And compared to the Quantas, the tenons have a feedback that is more solid and muted compared to the very stiff, light, and hollow Quantas. In stock form, the tenons are harder hitting than their predecessors, and they do have better sweet spots, but similar to the Quantas, I think the tenons do need perimeter weighting to bring out their full potential. In the test state, I found the tenons do have a similar sweet spot to the Friday Auras, and lower stability compared to the FLX, Omni, and X2. Power-wise, it sits above the stock Quantas, and it's comparable to my weighted up FLX. For now, I've done a simple 3-gram strips at 3 and 9, and I would say for firepower that this is in the all-court leaning power category. For the ball feedback, I would place this in the middle here. While the Aura has the most muted and dense feel, I would place the tenons at number 3 for the ball feel. At $150 after discount code, this is a very solid foam option if you want solid power without that hollow feedback. And on top of that, this does have Ronbus's take on durable grit. Now, I will say I wasn't amazed by this grit like I was with the Hex Grit and Perma Grit, but I would compare this grit to that of the Chorus Coda. It still provides great spin, but not at the elite level of some of the others, though it does manage to maintain a USAB approval, which isn't as common for durable grit paddles. Next, let's talk about the all-court boomstick, aka the Selkirk Omni. This is going to be a very familiar paddle for many people, as it feels nearly identical to the boomstick except toned down in firepower. It has the MOI weights as well, but these are going to be removable and adjustable. But personally, I prefer the Omni without the weights. With the weights on, the metrics are 122 and 7.00, but without the weights, this drops down to 112 and 5.60. I think several people would find 122 too heavy, and they'll prefer adding their own weights instead. Personally, I copied what I did on the FLX, so 3-gram strips at 3 and 9 where the MOI weights were, and then adding edgeguard tape around the top half of the paddle. It's got the most crisp feedback out of all these paddles, and I placed this in the number 2 spot for overall firepower with my weight setup. Like the Tenon, the Omni has Selkirk's Infinite Grit, which provides great spin, but it's not top tier like the Crystal Grit, though it still manages to maintain a USAT approval. But overall, the Omni is a great all-court leaning power option, if you want to keep that stiff and hollow feedback. The last paddle we'll talk about is the most powerful one from the test, and that's going to be the Engage X2. Metrics, we have 117 swing weight and 6.12 twist weight. It has the second most muted feedback in paddle feel, but it's got some sneaky power like the wide body variant you covered in the previous video. It had the most plow through on drives, and the dense feedback it has offered a good blend of pop and control. Out of all the paddles on this list, this is the only one I didn't add any perimeter weighting to, and I enjoyed using it stock. Like a Tenon, the X2 is another foam option with good firepower without having that stiff and hollow feedback, but it offers just a little more juice than the Tenon. Personally, I think the X2 series from Engage is a little underrated, but I do know they have some exciting things coming out soon, such as a durable grip version of the X2s that's only UPA approved that I do think people should keep an eye out for. Honestly, I enjoy my time with all 5 of these paddles, and can see myself using each one of them for a different situation. If I'm in an indoor environment with a fast ball, I would go for the control of the Friday Aura. For the opposite, if I'm outdoors with a slower ball, I would go for the harder hitting Engage X2. If I want a bit more punch in hands battles and counters, I would go for the crisp feedback of the Omni. If I want a similar firepower to the Omni but with a more muted feedback, I would choose a Tenon. And finally, if I could only pick one out of all these options, my favorite is going to be the Neonic FLX. Again, all 5 are great options, and if you do want to pick any of these paddles up, check the video description for discount codes and links. As always, check out my website at TICKLEMYPICKLE35.com for the written summary of this review, and I will catch you all in the next video.